Hi and welcome to another of my videos. In this video I'm going to be showing how this stitch runs up the centre of a V-neck neckband. So obviously this is going to be to match the base, going to be in 2x2 rib around the collar. And then this one stitch that in the pattern it says to put it on some sort of stitch holder is going to be the center. I'll show you on this one, the center of this collar. So it is a V shape, and then we've got this one stitch that's running up the center. So on this one I did do a super stretchy cast off, because obviously it's going over a baby's head, and babies' heads tend to have like slightly larger heads than their bodies, so it just makes it that much easier to get on. I did the normal in-rib cast off for the arms. So yes, so this is the video I'm going to be showing, is this one stitch that's running up the centre. So I'm going to go ahead and then pick up my stitches. So I've joined the right shoulder, and then I'll be picking up and knitting along this edge, and then knitting that one stitch, and then carrying on up and picking up and knitting there. So I will come back on the video once I've done that, so then I can actually show you this part of the actual stitch. When you read it in the pattern it might be a bit complicated for some, so I thought I'd do a little video on that. So I hope this helps. So I'll pause the video and I'll come back once I've picked up my stitches. Right, so I've picked up all my stitches, and I have done my 2x2 rib down to where it said for me to do it down to. It said to do the knit 2, purl 2 18 times, so I put a little stitch marker in so I knew where I would be stopping. So I've ended on a purl 2. So I have these 2 stitches here, and then the one that I obviously picking up stitches, picking up and knitting, I had to knit that one stitch. So I've left that stitch marker in so that I know which stitch is going to be the one that's going to be running up the center of that V. So the pattern then tells me that I need to knit just one, and then I'm going to be inserting my needle purl ways through the back of the second. So we've got the next 2 stitches, so through the back, so this part not coming in here because obviously you purl through here, but we're going to be picking it up through the back of the second and then the first stitch. So we're going to come in through at this angle to get those 2 stitches, and then we're going to slip them onto this needle together, not individually, we're going to do it together. So I will do that next. So it can be a little bit twiddly, but we're coming through the back of that second one first, and then the first one. And do it without getting them off the needle, and then we are actually going to move them over to our right hand needle so they can come off. So I've done that. So it's to slip both stitches off the needle together, and then purl next stitch. So we bring our yarn forwards, and then going to purl that next stitch. Now we've got these 2 that we slipped over. We're going to be passing them over this stitch that we've just purled, so we can then try and get hold of those 2, and they will be twisted, so you need to leave it twisted. So I've got hold of those. There's the 2 stitches there, and then we're going to pass the 2 slip stitches, these 2, over the purled stitch. So this is where it might get a little bit twiddly, but we need to be careful that we don't get that stitch off as well. This is where I will end up with the stitch coming off. So try and get that off. Right, so they've come over, and then we then let that go. So it's in that those 2 stitches are now here. And then it says for me to do 1 knit and then 2 purl. So I'm going to knit 1 and then I'm going to purl 2. So if I turn this around, it's going to be this stitch that's going to be running up the centre. And then we've got these stitches that are going to be gradually coming in, so they'll be coming in at an angle. So as long as you just follow your whatever pattern you're doing, if you're doing this V-neck on a pattern and you're not quite sure how to do it, so obviously I can only show you that once. I can then do some other rows and then show you it again as the pattern goes on up, because it will ask you to repeat 2 rows so that you can then, obviously your V-neck will gradually grow. So I've now got to knit 2 and purl 2 the rest of my stitches, and then I'll be coming back the other way. So I'll pause the video again and then I'll show you the next row. Right, so I've ribbed down to the centre of our V again, and then it told me to do a certain amount of the knit 2 purl 2, and then the next 2 stitches I've knitted 2. So we're back to having that centre stitch in between the next 3 stitches, so it's in the middle. So I've knitted those 2 stitches, and now it wants me to, with those 3 stitches and that centre one being our middle stitch, wants me to knit ways, slip those 2 off onto our right hand needle. So this bit's going to be a little bit easier than on the wrong side of our work. So again, they're twisted onto this needle, but that's fine, that needs to stay that way. And then we're going to knit the next stitch, and then we're going to pass those 2 slip stitches over our knitted stitch, and then it will wants us to knit the next stitch, next 2 stitches, and then I've got to do my rib again. So I will do that. That's quite a long bit, so I'll have to do that. So I will rib along there, and then I will come back to the video and then show you that again of how we do that on the 3rd row and on the wrong side. So as you'll probably see, it seems to be quite a much chunkier stitch, because this is the one that's going to have all the slipped stitches passed over. So eventually it will all look just a knit stitch all the way up. That's the centre of the V. So I'll carry on and do my rib, and then I'll come back for the 3rd row to show you that again, because the pattern that does actually say, it just says rib to the 3 stitches at the centre of V. So that 1 stitch that I've left marked is the centre, so it will be the 3 stitches with the V stitch in the middle. Right, okay, I've ribbed up to the V again. So on row 3 it says to rib to the 3 stitches at the centre of the V. So when you turn your work around to the right hand side, I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but you can work out which one is your centre stitch. But I have left that marker in, so I can sort of follow it up, and then you know that that's the centre stitch. But at this point on your work, it looks like there's like a big purl stitch here, and then we know that this stitch is the centre centre stitch. So it might be a bit difficult seeing it on my coloured yarn, but I have ribbed to those 3 stitches, the centre 3 stitches. So I've ribbed, but then it's I've got the 2 knitted, so get my words out, purl 2, knit 2, a rib, and then I've got a purl 1 and then the 3 stitches. So at this point now, with the 3 stitches, it says to insert the needle purlways again, so back through the back of the stitch. So this is the bit of the twiddly row when it's the purl row, but now that we're a bit further away from that initial row, it's a little bit easier. So we're going through that 2nd stitch and then the 1st stitch, and just make sure that we've got those on there. And then obviously it's going to be twisted once we've moved it over to our right hand needle. So obviously we're on the wrong side row, so we're going to purl the next stitch, and then we're going to pass those 2 that we slipped over on over that purled stitch. So again, we're carrying on that centre stitch, and then it says to carry on with rib up to the end. So I will do that, and then I will rib back down to this point to show you again on those 3 stitches at the centre of the V. So we're going to have that centre of the V as the middle stitch, and then we're going to have a stitch either side. So I'll pause the video here again. Right, so I've ribbed now back to the 3 stitches in the centre of the V. So I don't know if you'll be able to see here a little bit clearer the centre stitch. And then the stitches either side are actually starting to lean into that centre stitch. So as you progress through your rows, you will see that it is becoming more of a V shape. And it's a bit easier to work out which one is your centre stitch, as it is that little bit chunkier because they're incorporating the 2 stitches being passed over. So again, on the right side row, we've ribbed to the 3 stitches at the centre, and we're going to put our needle in knitways through that 2nd stitch and then the 1st stitch, and then slip those off onto our right hand needle. We're going to then knit that next stitch. Sorry about me passing the yarn round. Going to knit that stitch, and then we're going to pass those 2 stitches over. Again, you can see that that is carrying on that centre stitch, and then we're going to then rib the rest of that row. So if I bring the yarn round, so you can see that it is starting to move in. So these stitches are shaping into that centre stitch. So I hope that makes sense after all that. And then after that 4th row, then it does say that you repeat the 3rd and 4th row however many times more, and then you cast off in rib. So I cast off, as I said at the beginning of the video, on the smaller version, with a much stretchier cast off than just casting off in rib. But I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this one, whether to do that for the older child or just to do the normal casting off in rib. But I'll probably make that decision right at the last minute. But I hope that this video has helped you visualize how this stitch works, and hopefully you'll be able to incorporate it into your knitting. Okay, thank you for watching.